Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG. For today's video, we'll be talking about all the new information that we got about Core Set 2020. There is a lot of stuff, mainly this article here published by the Wizards Play Network. This is the website that, for those of you who aren't familiar with what the WPN program even is, it's where when you go to your local game store, the tournament software that your tournament organizer, your game store runs, as well as how your local game store is able to talk to Wizards, is able to receive things like the F&M promos, the game day promos, all these different promotional items, those sort of things. Those sort of things are all done through the Wizards Play Network. Same thing goes for not even just Magic stuff. They also cover like the Dungeons and Dragons promotion stuff. I know they sent us pre-release stuff for the Transformers card game, which is something that I didn't think I'd be saying, but that's a thing that exists in the WPN program now as well. So this is just a very big organization to Magic players, especially those who play in local game stores. This is a very big piece to that. And they came out with this article here just today, June 13th, 2019. That's today. So you can see here, M20, 15 changes every retailer should know. And we're going to go ahead and talk through some of these things and some of the other information that we did get to learn about Core Set 2020 as well. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into this right after I say thank you to my sponsor. This video is sponsored by CardSphere, as is all other content here on the channel. And with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first thing here, this set has more foils. So if we take a look at a War of the Spark booster and lift the seam on the back, you can see the second to last line, which says premium cards, odds approximately 1 in 67, and then for M20 it'll say approximately 1 in 45. So that basically lowers down the odds of you opening up a foil to now about 1 in every 3 packs, which is pretty good odds. You can see it's not overly significant from the 1 in 67 to the 1 in 45, but it does change it a little bit. Since there are 15 cards per booster pack, this is basically just saying a straight up 1 in 3 chance, while the 1 in 67 was closer to like 1 in 4.5 or so. Not necessarily a clear number or a precise number, but having just straight up 1 in every 3 packs now containing a foil, I think is pretty good, and no one can say no to more foils. So that's it's a pretty good thing. I like this edition. Next up, the bundle will be getting an upgrade. The Core Set 2020 bundles will be coming with 20 foil lands, an alternate art foil promo card, and an oversized spin down life counter. I don't know what to think about the oversized spin down life counter. I think that's probably kind of dumb, but I play with pen and paper, so the life counters don't really do anything to me, even though I have like a million D20s from playing all the pre-release events. I think the 20 foil lands is pretty interesting. Obviously, if they do like full art lands in the set, that would be crazy to just have 20 foil full art lands to go along with it, but obviously I don't think that they will. I'll be interested to see whether it's just the straight up 20 lands that they have in the set, or if there'll be some sort of promos that you can only obtain through the bundle. I think those would be kind of cool. And then when it says an alternate art foil promo card, I'm not sure what to think about this one yet either, because it could be just some sort of rare again from the set. We've seen them do rare promo cards in the past for sort of products like this, but we've also seen them just pick like random uncommons too. I'm thinking back to things like the gift box, where you could get Scythe Leopard and I think Mardu Charm and Ravenous Bloodseeker, I think, were like 3 different uncommons you could get from the gift boxes back when those were a thing. They don't exist anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of rarity they choose for this alternate art foil promo card to actually sell more of the bundles. Next up, this is a scheduling thing for your local game store. Like I said, that's kind of what the WPN deals with, so this one's kind of irrelevant to you guys. But this one's kind of a nice one here. Friday pre-releases. So now, instead of starting your pre-releases at midnight on Saturday as the very first starting time, you can now actually start them on 3 p.m. on the Friday of pre-release. So your F&M could technically just be a pre-release, which is super, super cool. I think a lot of local game stores are going to start, using this as an option. Maybe having the Saturday night events still the midnight ones, but then also just having an F&M pre-release, I think, is a very good idea and a great way, especially for some of the younger players as well, because I know there's a couple players players around the store that I work at, where they have some trouble doing the midnight pre-releases because they're like, 11 to 15 years old, somewhere in there. So it is a little bit hard for them to stay up till, 3 in the morning doing these midnight pre-releases and things. So I definitely do like the idea of having FNMs being your pre-releases now. I think that that's a great inclusion. Next up, there's going to be the first ever Commander event. This will be on August 24th and 25th. I'm not really a big Commander player, but if for you guys that do play Commander, August 24th through 25th, be sure to keep that in mind. And then there are 5 Planeswalker decks again. Core Set 2020 has 5. This is basically everything that we know about the Planeswalker decks already. The only difference is that they are including only 1 booster pack instead of 2 now in Planeswalker decks. They're doing this so that local game stores and other big box stores, those sort of things that sell these Planeswalker decks, are able to do so at a lower price by removing that 1 booster pack. That way players can get into the game for cheaper. I think that's an okay idea. I mean, I'm not, obviously I've never bought a Planeswalker deck. I, for some reason, have some, but those were just given to me. So I don't, I've never actually played with a Planeswalker deck, so I don't know in terms of a new player how much the difference is going to be between not getting the extra booster pack or not. Next up, Planeswalker decks for sale at open house. Again, just you guys can get the Planeswalker decks during your open house. The Spellslinger Starter Kit, this was an item we saw that got a lot of flack from the community, and I still think it's not necessarily the best product in the world, but the contents are unchanged, and you will have all of the same items as last time, but they've reduced the cost so that you can keep the barrier to entry as low as possible for new players. I think that one's kind of interesting, especially because of the fact that Wizards of the Coast has removed MSRPs. So it means that they're actually giving them to the distributors and to the stores for a lower price, and then just expecting for the stores to sell them at cheaper. I think it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with those. Again, I don't really like the Spellslinger Starter Kit as a product, but again, could be a little bit interesting here. They're doing some things with the WPN premium thing, so these are just for like the really big stores and stuff. You get some extra bonuses and things like that, and you can see it here now on the store locator. They're doing best of 1 events and drafts at pre-release as some potential things that you can do for the premium only stores. Getting a WPN premium store is quite difficult to do. There's very few of them in comparison to the large number of local game stores that exist out there, so this won't be a thing that will be affecting too many of us. But notably, if it does go well for these premium stores, then it is likely that we could see things like best of 1 events and pre-release booster drafts coming to some of these smaller stores then in the future as well. Next up, we have Magic Arena codes at FNM for August 16th, US and Canada only. I think it's kind of interesting that they'd only do them in US and Canada. That seems a little bit strange to me. I feel like this is something that they could definitely do, all over. They did these for, I believe, War of the Spark recently, where you could redeem one of these codes for 3 packs. I think it was War of the Spark. So having these again, just another little bonus for you showing up to FNM. Everyone gets one of these, so not bad. Next up, we have the London Mulligan here. You can see the rule goes official for Tabletop Magic on July 5th and July 2nd for digital. So that's something to keep in mind, that as we have the release of Core Set 2020, we will also have the introduction of the London Mulligan. If you guys don't know what the London Mulligan is, again, they explain it really quickly right here, that you guys can just read up on it quick. But it'll be a pretty big change to the game, and I do like it for limited, so I think that having it at the pre-release events and your drafts will be pretty good. These are a very cool thing that I'm excited for. The Universal Promo Packs with Japanese War of the Spark Planeswalkers. So Core Set 2020 brings the Universal Promo Pack into stores for the first time. Promo packs are loaded with promo stamped rares and foils, plus the Japanese-only alternate art Planeswalkers will be available outside of Japanese War of the Spark booster packs for the first time. I personally don't own any of the Japanese Planeswalkers yet, but I definitely hope to own some here in the near future once I crack open several of these packs. I think that it's kind of interesting that they do have the promo pack as well as the premium promo pack, so I'll be interested to see what the difference is and how to earn these is different. Maybe for like a game day event, for example, they do like the top 8 gets, you know, some sort of a prize. Maybe it'll be these for the top 8, these for everyone else who participates. Maybe something along those lines. For any excess packs that are, you know, left over after events, stores are allowed to give them out as prizes at F&M events after the initial events with these. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that you could potentially earn multiples of these and not just the one. I feel like these are going to sell in the secondary market for quite a bit, probably upwards of, I want to say like $10 to $15, because these things are going to be very, very sought after. And if we look at some things, like if we just go to eBay right now, you can see you can see my my past searches here. Japanese Davriel being the first thing that shows up. But if we look at just like standard showdown packs, for example, standard showdown pack MTG, these things are selling for like a few dollars. Here's War of the Spark ones for $21.25 or best offer. Here's some Core Set 2019 ones for $10.50. 5 of them for, you know, 71, about 75 after shipping. So these things are these things are hot commodities. These are things that people love to open, and they're going to sell for quite a bit on the secondary market. So it is something you might want to keep in mind, that as you're as you're going to your local game stores, you might want to make sure that they are handing them out at least one event. That way they're not just, you know, hogging them and then selling them on the secondary market, because that would be very unfortunate. New welcome decks. We're getting new welcome decks. That's not that big of a deal. The welcome decks are just basically introduction decks that we use at the local game store to teach people how to play the game. They come with one rare and then some very basic cards. The rares end up being things like Shivan Dragon, Nightmare, those very basic cards. Those cards are all legal and standard, but none of them end up seeing any standard play. But again, nice for the starter decks to get a little bit of an upgrade, or at least a little bit different, so that if a new player comes in that maybe already has one of the welcome decks and we hand them another welcome deck, that they'll be getting some different cards to try out. And then this finally is the last thing that we have here: new buy a box allocation. Starting with M20, you'll get buy a box promos and quantities based on your tickets and engaged players totals. Quantities were previously based on store level. We expect this new, more precise paradigm to get more product into the places where demand is highest. This sounds accurate. It seems like a good idea from Wizards' part. Maybe not the best in terms of the local game stores' part, but I do understand why Wizards would do this. I think this will also cut down heavily on the people who just have an LGS that just sell off the buy a box promos on eBay or something like that right away. I think this will be a great way to make sure that that happens less frequently. So yeah, with that being said, that's the last piece of M20 information that we have here from these. So some pretty cool things, new or more foils, Friday pre-releases, all sorts of other fun things, the London Mulligan, these promo packs. And to go along with all of that, we did also find out that there are going to be some nice Chandra Planeswalkers here. You can see 3 of them here. One uncommon, one rare, and one mythic. And if we look at the article on Gizmodo that actually revealed the Chandra Planeswalkers for Core Set 2020, there was also a little bit of a... Where is it? It's not that big of a deal, but it is just something to point out quickly. Let me just Control F to find it for... There we go. So since there were 4 different, here they talk about the artwork and how they chose to do like different artworks on the Chandras, where she kind of goes from like younger to growing up to obviously the beast of a human being that she is now. But here you can see, since there were 4 different Chandra Planeswalker cards tied to Core Set 2020, this gave us the opportunity to showcase different aspects of this interesting, nuanced character. Obviously, since there are 4 different ones, we've only seen 3. That basically just means that Chandra's confirmed as the red Planeswalker for the Planeswalker deck. Again, not that big of a deal. You could kind of infer that on your own. But we do have 3 pretty neat Chandra cards here. I like this 3-mana one. I think this 3-mana one might actually just end up being the best of the group, solely because this one at 6 mana is hard to cast. But I think she's also just like a fantastic card too. I really like this +2 ability. Each opponent gets an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 1 damage to you, so it stacks up each time that you do it. So the first one will deal 1 damage because because they'll have 1 emblem, then they'll have 2 emblems, then they'll have 3 emblems, and so the damage just keeps racking up. I really like that with this 6 mana Chandra. Seems a little bit slow for constructed. She could be a good like control finisher, maybe like Jeskai control, or maybe like a blue-red control, something like that. Chandra could be a great finisher for that, but I really like this 3 mana one. I think this 3 mana one will end up seeing quite a bit of play in standard. I think she's quite strong. And then the uncommon one obviously is just going to be a limited card. I think this ability here is kind of interesting. Elementals you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. There might be an elemental sub theme somewhere in Core Set 2020. So maybe if you have like any cards in mind that are elemental subtype that you think might get reprinted, be sure to let me know. I think it would be pretty interesting to see some good elemental reprints, because there are some great elementals that have been printed throughout the history of Magic, but mainly this is just going to be a limited card. And then finally, the last thing we're going to talk about today is where you guys can find your Core Set 2020 previews. The article was posted here by Blake Rasmussen this morning, and you can see on June 11th, the IO9 did their preview. That's basically just this article that we just looked at where they covered the 3 Chandra cards. But here, June 17th is going to be the first day for previews. If we come down here and look at the date, it is already the 13th here. So we have the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and then 17th. So this Monday, next Monday, will be the first of the Core Set 2020 previews aside from those Chandras. So we are, even though Modern Horizons hasn't released yet, we are less than 100 hours away from the start of Core Set 2020 spoiler season, which is pretty exciting. So I can't wait to see what ends up happening with some of these. You can see some of the great names that are included on the spoilers list. I'll just scroll through it quickly so you guys can just kind of take a look at what channels, content creators, and other Magic personalities you might want to check out on certain days to see what spoiler cards they potentially have gotten. You can see spoilers are going now for a little over a week, and then June 24th, I believe, is the last day for the spoilers. So June 24th being right here on this Monday. So we're going to have about a week of spoilers, and then on the 25th through 27th, that's normally sometime in between there, is when they'll spoil the rest of the set for the pre-release, because sometimes they won't spoil, actually most of the time, they don't spoil like all of the commons and things, and then towards the end of it, they'll just like throw all the rest of the remaining commons at you that are just kind of like limited cards and not really of too big of significance. Those will usually get spoiled somewhere in this time period right before the pre-release, which should be taking place then on the 29th. And then pre-release events should be taking place on the 6th, or if you end up doing the Friday at 3 p.m. pre-release, then we could be looking at the 5th for this time period for pre-release. So with that being said, hopefully you guys did learn a little bit of something here about Core Set 2020. We covered a lot of information in this video. If you guys did find it helpful, be sure to leave a like down low I was going to say a like in the comment section. That's not how that works. Be sure to leave a like on the video and comment your thoughts in the comment section. That's how that works. Be sure to check out my sponsor, CardSphere, if you guys haven't checked them out already, and I will see you guys here next time for another Magic the Gathering video.